Has the right wing made a little bit of progress when it comes to pronouns? Well, that's an interesting question. No. But they are seemingly using pronouns now in the case of Anderson Lee Aldrich, who the past weekend in Colorado Springs grabbed a gun and went to one of the two LGBT clubs in the area and murdered 5 people, wounding 19 before being stopped by an incredibly heroic Army veteran with the help of an incredibly brave trans woman who stomped him with heels. Great. Now, look, this is, of course, another horrific case of a mass shooting in America. We've had at least 600 that we know of. And it's, of course, another case of one being driven by hate. Look, the bar itself, as I've showed you pictures of, had been the host of drag queen events. Now, drag queens have been demonized, especially by the likes of Tucker Carlson, Tim Pool, Jordan Peterson, Matt Walsh, Chaya Raichik, also known as the person behind Libs of TikTok, and countless other right-wing figures. Now, they tried to use this during the midterm elections. It didn't exactly work out for them. But, of course, with the right wing, all they have to do is just continue to repeat lies and double down. And they're focusing on the message of drag queens are grooming the kids and they're grooming the children's and they're sexualizing the children's. And, again, no evidence of any of that. And, of course, since the shooting, these same figures have tried to find any excuse that absolves them and their rhetoric for any of the responsibility for the increase in violence against drag queens and other members of the LGBTQ community. Their newest one is the idea that Aldrich could not possibly ever be an actual right-winger because Aldrich identifies as non-binary. Here we go. According to a recent court filing, Aldrich's lawyers are now claiming that Aldrich identifies as non-binary. Now, for me, I think, so? Okay. And what does that matter when it comes to the alleged crime? Nonetheless, the right wing responded to this with just absolute unmitigated glee. Take a look. Here's Blair White. By the way, trans woman, but on the right wing. Wait a minute. I thought members of the LGBT community or LGBTQ community cannot be possibly members of the right wing. Oh, right. Ask Caitlyn Jenner, ask Blair White, ask Dave Rubin. So again, the idea that somebody who identifies as non-binary could also be a vicious right winger. Yeah, it's totally possible. But for this story, I actually cast doubt on this, and I'm going to provide some of the receipts. But then, before we get to that, we've got more right-wing reaction. As you can see, Matt Walsh. Sorry, but if you're on the left, then you have no right to deny the shooter's non-binary identity. You set a precedent here, and we will hold you to it. Oh, thanks for keeping us honest, Matt Walsh. You have to respect his identity. I don't. You do. These are your rules. Now take your medicine and shut up. Fun. All right, so there's more, of course, and you're going to love this. Mike Cernovich, when do Libs of TikTok, Matt Walsh, and Tucker Carlson get their apologies? When hell freezes over. Which, by the way, would never happen because hell doesn't exist. Okay, there's even more. Greg Price, this guy claims he's the misinformation reporter, spent the last 3 days claiming that people who want to stop the grooming and specialization. That's funny because, wait, specialization generally has to do with jobs. I'm assuming they meant sexualization, which again is not a real thing. It's not actually happening. Are they responsible for a mass shooting in Colorado that it turns out was committed by a non-binary they, them? Hey, you know what? At least Greg Price is using pronouns. Kurt Schlichter says, stop non-binary terrorism. So, well, look, as you can see, let me see if I have one more here. Ah, yes, Matt Walsh retweet. So the Colorado shooter is a non-binary schizo who was arrested in connection with a bomb threat last year. By the way, the other claim from the right wing is like, why isn't the left reporting on the bomb threat? I did for certain, which every left outlet that has covered this story has mentioned that, has talked about that. And the fact that the red flag laws in Colorado were not followed at all. And there's no reason this person should have had weapons in the first place. But I digress. Again, if the facts there do not suit their narrative, they ignore them and they, chuck them away. They flush them down the toilet, whatever they want to do. They just ignore it. It's like it never happened, doesn't exist. Weird. But as you can see, their reaction, yes, the shooter was not binary. There you go. Yes, he wasn't one of us. He wasn't a right winger. Wait a minute. Are you sure about that? Are you sure? So, look, there are things about this story, this defense, that don't make sense. But even if the lawyers were telling the truth, and that this person does identify as non-binary, and aren't just doing this to avoid hate crimes charges, okay, well, what does the shooter identifying as non-binary have to do with it? You're saying that a member of the LGBT community, whose grandfather happened to be a far-right MAGA politician, specifically targeted an LGBT bar, one of the two in the state, that hosted drag events at a time when there's a fever pitch among the right wing about drag queens supposedly grooming and sexualizing children, you're saying that's all just a coincidence? No, weird coincidence. What are you going to do? I'd be a rather large coincidence here. Rather large. Not saying it couldn't happen, but again, large coincidence. That said, I don't believe so, because according to people who knew Aldrich, they say that Aldrich regularly used anti-gay slurs on the regular basis. Interesting. So one of their friends, Xavier Krause, 23, said that he used to be friends with Aldrich and they lived in the same building near the University of Colorado at Colorado Springs. Quote, there would be times where he and his mom would get into fights, arguments because he would be saying hateful things about whoever he was angry with. He said sometimes that probably, he said things sometimes that probably should have been alarming to me. He used the term, and it's the F slur, a lot. Most of the time, it came from a place of anger. Yes, because, non-binary people generally, refer to other members of the LGBT community as hateful slurs. Is that, that definitely sounds like something that a non-binary person would do, right? Right? No, of course not. But there's more. I want to show you some of the video here from that standoff. This is where Aldrich claimed to have had a homemade bomb. And you're going to see where they refer to themselves as, not non-binary.
It's your boy. I've got the heads outside. Look at that. They got a beat on me. You see that right there? Heads got their rifles out. If they breach, I'm going to blow it to holy hell. It's your boy. I've got the...
That doesn't sound like someone who identifies as non-binary. It's your boy. Sure. Okay. Now, look, there's more. This person, again, had a pretty notable hatred of the LGBTQ community. You can see, of course, one of their social media posts burning a LGBT flag. Huh. Yeah. Weird. It just seems like this person might be very, very confused or something. Or maybe not non-binary at all. Just be making this up. And then finally, none of their families also made any mention of this, although that could be explained away by the fact that they're just virulent right-wingers and don't care at all about gender identity. But here's an excerpt of another news article about this. Is referring to the mother here. In February 2022, she wrote, "Hello, sisters. Can anyone please recommend?" By the way, this is on Church of Latter-day Saints, so Mormons, Facebook pages. "Hello, sisters. Can anyone please recommend a great trauma PTSD therapist?" And indicated it was for a 20-year-old, which Aldrich then was. He asked in May 2022, "Can anyone refer my son to a private boxing coach? He's 6'6" tall and hits like a freight train. Cannot find a good gym or anyone serious. He has made huge life changes and needs this." In 2021, she also wrote, "Does anyone have an extra heavy-duty fan they would like to donate to my son? He's in University Village apartments and it's 80 degrees in his apartment and no fan." And so he doesn't have any cash. So again, everyone seems to refer to Aldrich as he, even people at college. So either this person was very, very deeply into the closet, which is certainly possible, that they were forced into the closet as a result of being in this right-wing, bubble, this right-wing area, or happens to be making it up in order to get out of some of the hate crimes charges. Again, whichever, conclusion you want to come to, at this point, we don't know a definitive answer. One more thing. Police documents also referred to Aldrich as he, him, pronouns, at least up until very recently. Again, you could say, well, police do get it wrong. Police misgendered, of course, Keffels, who's or Claire Sorrenti, a transgender Twitch streamer. So certainly that is possible. Police don't care about, their particular pronouns. Or once again, you could come to the conclusion that this person's just making it up as a result of the lawyers advising them on this. I can't say definitively, but I am not buying this story. And again, the timing is very interesting. Also interesting is suddenly members of the far right are saying, "Oh, non-binary, completely valid." And, only because it's that person, and it proves that it's the lefts that are violent. So I don't see any progress. They're using this as a political narrative as usual. Doesn't matter, by the way. Obviously, even if Aldrich was, in this case, non-binary, it wouldn't change anything that they've done. And honestly, it doesn't mean that you can't suffer from self-hatred as a result of being in that gigantic right-wing bubble. And it also doesn't make the crime any less terrible. It doesn't excuse the hatred from the right wing or the fact that red flag laws were clearly not followed. And even after they were documented with making threats before standoff with police, right? By the way, there's also one more thing. There was one time, according to his friend, where he made a shooting his gun reference to a woman he was upset with. And this is one of those instances where his mom was like, "Andy, oh my God, no, you can't say that." Yet Aldrich was more than able to keep an arsenal. They were allowed to. So there's a lot of different points of failure here that led to this. And the possibility of being non-binary is not one of them. What we see here from the right wing is a way to excuse themselves, usual, from any and all culpability for the kind of hatred that they put out in the world. And again, they loosen gun laws. They promote baseless groomer narratives, as you've seen, and constantly attack the LGBT community. So they also give rise to the hatred. And obviously, Aldrich had some sort of hatred towards that community, as well as an incredibly troubled past, including trying to distance themselves from a porn star, drug-addicted MMA fighter of a father, and an incredibly bizarre home life and turbulent. So again, the more you drill into the details, I mean, the more messed up the entire situation gets to be. But nonetheless, the right wing cannot dispute the fact that there is a rhetoric here that is coming from their side that is promoting hatred and acts of violence towards the LGBTQ community.